Be a bit cooler, but the poetry will be as hot as ever, hopefully. We're going to kick off with me again. I should say, before I do, we're back on the 17th of October at this venue with Richard Scott, Charlotte Knowles-Cutler, Loretta Tomlinson. 2 out of 3 of those poets are also new to Dodo, so we're giving lots of voices new to us an opportunity to read here, and it's great to hear new voices for us also. So anyway, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue by shamelessly plugging my 2 books, and I'm going to read a couple from Baltimore, which is available on sale here tonight for a mere £5. The first poem is called Waiting for Henry. There's a Henry in everyone's life. Henry's that unreliable friend who never turns up for an arrangement. Probably a few of you here tonight, except that you said you were going to come, but for some reason didn't. Waiting for Henry. The rumours begin. Henry's back in town. Days pass. Henry rings, says he might be at such and such a place, at such and such a time, on such and such a day. We go there anyway, stand around with drinks. Someone spots Henry, but it's not Henry, just someone who looks like Henry. Henry rings to apologise. He got caught up, there was a girl, a train was late. We forgive Henry. He is only as weak as the strongest among us. Henry threatens to come to a party. From an upstairs window we watch Henry's taxi arrive. He gets out, pays, remembers something, gets back in. We try to calculate how many years since we spoke to the physical Henry, pressed his physical flesh, stood him a drink. Once we saw him in the queue for Bob Dylan. There was a girl, there was a limousine. Henry melted away. We hear Henry's in Australia, or India, or Amsterdam. A card arrives without a stamp. It shows a white building, a red guard. Henry says he is getting his shit together. There was a girl, a plane was late. You know how it is. But we don't. We don't know how it is. This is why we love Henry, wherever he is. The Aran Islands, off the coast of Galway and Clare, are 3 beautiful places. This is a poem about Inishmore, which is the largest of the 3 islands, and it's beloved by artists because it's just a jewel of an island set out in the Atlantic, and when you have good light there, it's perfect for painting, apparently. It's also got an interesting history in that Cromwell billeted troops there during a period of hostilities, and after the hostilities ended, some of the troops stayed on and married into the island, and it's said that the physiognomy of the islanders has been influenced by that. So this is Inishmore. Summer returns to the west, light refracted through crystal, paddling in the surf on the western edge of Europe, our bony feet pale as salmon, but bewitched by ghosts. Summer returns to the west, our lives weary of death return to us, cycling until we run out of road, stopping for Guinness, bewitched by thirst. Inishmore, Inishmore, Inishmore. I repeat this mantra, asleep on the beach, running grey volcanic sand through bony fingers, skeletons of Cromwell soldiers almost within reach. History's crowded solitude, humming in this untrafficked place. Inishmore, Inishmore, Inishmore. Okay, I'm going to continue with a few poems from Looking for Eden, also on sale here tonight. A mere £6. That's inflation for you. So the first 2 poems I'm going to read are set in one of my favourite countries, Cuba. And this first one, I visited John Lennon Park in Havana And as you walk into the park, there's a beautiful bronze statue of John Lennon reclining on a bench with one arm draped over like that. And as you approach the statue, a park keeper emerges from the shrubbery and hands you a pair of John Lennon spectacles to put on the statue if you want a photograph taken with the great man. And the reason for this security is because in the past tourists have taken the spectacles home as a souvenir, but I think only in Cuba could somebody be employed as the keeper of John Lennon's glasses, which is the title of this poem. Out of the shade steps the keeper of John Lennon's glasses, slips them over the ex-Beatles' bronze ears. I shove up next to the great man, put my arm around his shoulders, made too warm by the heat of the sun. You capture the moment when I meet John Lennon's likeness in Havana, a life-size casting on a bench, one leg draped casually over the other. I attempt to swap specs, but the keeper wags his finger. I take a moment to bless John for his life in my life. I place a coin in the keeper's palm in recognition of the sacred task he has been anointed so to do. It's not every day you meet the keeper of John Lennon's glasses. Let me take you down. On another visit, I went to Cuernavaca, which is on the east of the island, and in the market in Cuernavaca I bought a painting there for a few pesos, and it's a beautiful picture, oil painting on linoleum, and so I felt that I owed the artist a poem. So this is a video of the painter. It's all from my imagination, says this gentle smiling man, showing his canvases, pastels on recycled paper, oils on Lido offcuts. We see what he means. Elsewhere the painters duplicate 50s American cars, behatted guitar players, sultry ladies, palm-fringed beach scenes. I select a picture, oil on floor covering, a vulture with a female body, rich daubs of green and blue and burgundy, perched threateningly on a branch. Painstakingly he signs it, bottom left, in the neat script of a master. For 5 pesos I have an original, a vidya, penna, all from his imagination. I imagine him in his shack somewhere, crowded with paper, offcuts and paint, children, a wife and chickens, a dog scratching at his heel, endeavouring to find a space to create art. These butterflies, abstracts, masks, expressions of the spirit of a people. If I close my eyes now, I am back in that market. I can see the paintings spread on a table, all the colours radiant, iridescent, under a Cuban palm-fringed sun. When Pete's filming, he has to edit out the bits where I go across and reach for my Guinness. It takes him hours to do that. I was brought up a Catholic, and although I no longer practice the faith, the stories from the Bible have stayed with me. So at the conclusion of this collection, I've written a few poems based on biblical stories, and I've tried to put them in the voice of an everyman who has witnessed a disciple or an apostle. And so this one is the crucifixion. As far as I'm concerned, they shocked him to the Romans because they were jealous. He was stealing their thunder, and their egos couldn't deal with that. King of the Jews was being bandied around, but it wasn't his idea. He was happy to be known as Son of God. Well, wouldn't you? The Romans didn't want to get involved. It was a local squabble, they felt. And in squabbles there are always two sides, hero to some, villain to others. He was my friend, but I didn't go to the crucifixion. What would have been the point? I couldn't have helped him. being part of a mob. I prefer to remember that last night in the garden, praying for salvation, but I was tired from wine with supper and nodded off. When I woke, he was gone. There was an imprint in the grass where he'd knelt. Okay, this is my last poem of the evening. Takes you on a little journey, not a very long one. I was flying home from Amsterdam to London, and the girl sitting next to me was from Holland. She was on her travels. She offered me a biscuit. Very nice, polite person. So this is Biscuit Girl from Amsterdam. "Would you like a biscuit?" said the girl sitting next to me on the plane from Amsterdam. Her teeth so white, I think she must eat only apples. I appreciatively take one, crunch away. They are like our English biscuit, the hobnob, I say. Her eyes widen. The hobnob? Those white teeth again, as she seriously digests this important information. "We call them country cookies," she says at last. Isn't that funny, I think? Hobnob sounds much Dutcher than country cookies. She is on her way to Nepal, where neither hobnobs nor country cookies can easily be found. Instead, she will digest the thrill of exploring fresh lands, a world experienced through young senses, opening like a giant lotus hobnob in any flavour you like. Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome back now Lara Kennedy.
Okay, thank you for staying. So, I'm going to start with a poem that was inspired by Malala Yousafzai, who I'm sure you all know. This is her story. Malala speaks.